Monsters Inc. is now entertaining its second generation of children. It holds a 96% Rotten Tomatoes score 18 years after its release. It's critically acclaimed amongst a growing number of peers and continues year on year to make Disney millions in revenue in addition to the $600 million it made during its cinematic release. When Disney announced its own streaming service in 2019, the release of a Monsters Inc. series was one of the major headlines. So what is Pixar's magic sauce? Monsters Inc. is a children's story, so it's about bright colours and lovable monsters, right? What are writers going to learn about story from a children's movie? The answer is simple. Children don't pay for tickets, adults do. The greater engagement adults have in story, the greater their investment. And by that we don't just mean repeated viewing, but higher earning merchandise and theme park rides. In learning how Pixar put together a story that became a high-earning franchise, we will break down the entire story to the foundations of structure, character and theme. Monsters Inc. runs at 85 minutes excluding credits. Spoilers beware. Monsters Inc. starts with a 90-second credit sequence that leaves you with a distinct impression. Doors and going through them is going to be very important to the movie. Once the credits are over, Pixar get down to business with an opening sequence that creates a relatable world setting, a child's bedroom, scares us or reminds us of a time we were scared, makes us laugh, changes up the world setting to a training room, makes us laugh again, defines the central lie defining all characters in this world, introduces us to one of the key characters, sets up our hero and our expectations of his capability. All in under 5 minutes including the 90-second credit sequence. It is Waternoos's opening monologue that defines the story lie, the central moral conflict of the story. In this world they justify scaring children for Scream because children are toxic, a threat to the monster world. The quality is that all this has been staged in a framework of fun monsters and bright colours. Once we're out of the opening scenes, the setup takes a hefty 19 minutes before we hit the change from normal. There's not a moment wasted though. The world, characters and stakes are constantly expanded, entertaining and drawing us further in. The quality of the world building here, for all that's different, is the familiarity of the world. The child's bedroom in the opening scene, Sully's apartment and the streets as they walk to work. Our familiarity with this world allows us to build the wider detail of Monstropolis in our minds without Pixar needing to waste time showing us. As we arrive at the Monsters Inc. factory, the world building continues with the setup of an industrial world, reinforced with a lot of characters wearing hard hats. The design of the building interior, the foyer, scare floor, the key cards, canisters, and the arrival of the doors, the familiarity of the industrial setting means once again we fill in the wider detail. Scaring is a normal in this monster's world, but if there wasn't anything at stake there wouldn't be any drama. The stakes here relate to the lie and the increasing struggle to provide enough scream to power the world. This is first defined at 6 minutes with the TV advertisement telling us the window of innocence is shrinking. Children are getting harder to scare. At 7 minutes, Sully and Mike walk rather than drive to work because of a scream shortage. The mantra is repeated in every newspaper headline. Rolling blackouts. Not only does this inform us about the monster's world, but it makes their world relatable to ours. With the industry of scaring underway at 16 minutes, Waternoose laments. Kids these days just don't get scared like they used to. We find Monsters Inc. are rarely making their scream quota. Doors are routinely shredded because children aren't scared. The scare floor is shut down when one of the scarers brings a child's sock back into the monster's world. The extreme measures of the CDA reaffirm the threat of children in this world. Waternoose defines the stakes for the entire story at 19 minutes as they wait for the scare floor to reopen. I'd do anything to keep it, Monsters Inc., from going under. We later learn the rising stakes have taken Waternoose and Roundel over a moral and ethical line. They have invented the Scream Extractor, a machine designed to get more scream from children at the risk of their innocence and maybe even to life. The dramatic narrative in Monsters Inc. might be considered late at 12 minutes, given normal structural expectations. Monsters needs us to understand the world and the stakes before the dramatic narrative will make any sense, which means it happens here at exactly the right moment. The line belongs to Randall in the locker room when he says to Mike, "Can you hear that?" It's the winds of change. The line applies to the world struggling with power and the need for change. As delivered in the locker, it is Randall's expectation the scream extractor will change scaring forever. Through the story, it is Sully's bond with a child and the realization scaring children is not acceptable. The line itself also heralds the story change set in motion during the next scene, when Mike is given an ultimatum for shoddy paperwork. The dramatic narrative of Monsters Inc. is about dealing with change. It will inform both the lie and the truth through to the story resolution. The setup has done a great job of world building, of defining the stakes and the dramatic narrative. But what about the characters? Sully and Mike are in almost every frame, but whose story is it? It might be argued it's both of theirs because they have both changed come the end. In reality, Mike is only a voice to create conflict with Sully, largely as a proponent for the lie. He's also very funny, of course. It is Sully who owns the story, who goes through a transformation from the best scarer to realizing children are not to be feared, must not be scared, to being the catalyst for change in the monster world. Mike is integral to the story, but he will change because he needs to fit in to the new world at the end. He doesn't learn anything to bring about the change, he just changes. With so much invested in the world setup, there is no one characteristic moment for Sully. Instead, the setup constantly contrasts Sully with Mike and builds up perspective for both characters. Sully is first defined as the hero by Walter Noose at 5 minutes, which is reaffirmed in the TV advertisement at 6 minutes. Sully's profile on TV echoes his introduction as the best scarer. We get an idea of his character during the advertisement when he's genuinely happy to see a colleague on TV, where Mike is only interested in seeing himself. It is Sully who gets Mike to walk to work because of the scream shortage. Mike wants to drive his flash car. Sully gets Mike tickets to Harryhausen's for Celia's birthday. He stands up to Randall, leads the scarers in the hero moment as they walk onto the scare floor. Sully offers Randall a genuine handshake. Best man wins. In realising Sully's character, we get the impression he's not the smartest, but he's the nicest, the jock with a heart. Mike makes us laugh, but he's only into himself. It is Sully we relate to. Because the story lie is the dependency on child screams, all the characters are committed to the lie at the outset. Of all the characters we have seen, Sully looks best equipped to escape it. The lie in Monsters Inc. is also symbolic, tying with our own world's love affair with a diminishing power source. The symbolism binds us emotionally to the story. Sully's elevated position in the world means his external desire is driven by the world lie, manifested as his pursuit of the all-time scarer record. As a consequence, Sully's external desire through the story is to maintain the lie so he can win the record. The physical manifestation of this desire is Boo, and his attempt to return her so they can resume scaring. In turn, his internal need, his truth, is to realise the deeper consequences of scaring children, built through Act 2 and spelled out at the break to Act 3, when he scares Boo by accident. The setup has so far done an excellent job of putting us into the normal of the Monsters Inc. world, but something's got to change from the day-to-day scaring if we're going to get started with the story. With the runtime totalling 85 minutes, you would normally expect the change to have occurred at 10 minutes. In Monsters Inc. that change happens at 22 minutes. Does that matter? Not for such a well-constructed story. The momentum hasn't stopped since the opening sequence. There has not been 1 second wasted to anything but story. It has been storytelling without ego, and it is very rare. The cause for the change at 12 minutes was Mike's ultimatum for bad paperwork. The effect is to have Sully return to the scare floor to collect the paperwork at 22 minutes. Everything will change. Although the goal of the change is to team Sully and Boo, it does a whole bunch of things. It confirms Sully is a good guy when he checks there isn't a scarer in the bedroom before ejecting the door. It shows us how scared of children even the scariest monsters are, with brilliant role reversal. It shows Sully resists this change at every turn. Only when Randall ejects the door does Sully accept the changed state and run towards the break to Act 2 with Boo in a bag. Typically, the change is followed by a period, usually about 12 minutes, where the hero deals with the changed state and is drawn closer to a point of no return. Monsters Inc. has been set up so well that stage after the change takes 2 minutes. It works for this story where the lie exists at the world level. It might not for a story where the lie is personal, where there's backstory and a B-story to help lead the hero to the truth. The break into Act 2 changes everything. To this moment, the problem of Boo has been Sully's. When she gets loose in the restaurant, she becomes a world problem. Once more, we are given an hilarious dose of role reversal as the child is the one scaring. The smart thing for Sully to do is put his hands in the air and let things work out, but their status as scarers and the reputation of Monsters Inc. is on the line. The decision to keep Boo secret is the point of no return. They embrace the decision and run down a narrow street into the second act. The story is now underway. We're still in this monster world, but the world dynamic has changed around Sully and Mike. There is a child on the loose. They have the child, and by proxy the world is hunting for them too. The 2A subtext is usually driven by the lie. As such, the subtext here is to get shot of the toxic Boo. Through 2A, we will see how Sully and Mike each evolve through their attempts to do this, through their interactions with Boo. The whole story is Sully's arc from hero scarer to changing the world, away from scaring. This story doesn't need a B story to do that, so there isn't one. Act 2 begins at 28 minutes with the Monsters newsreel confirming the world is now looking for Boo, with an amusing insight into the mayhem a child on the loose has introduced to the monster world. Sully and Mike reconfirm the world lie with their reaction to Boo at the apartment. This is comedy of a high order, but it also has purpose. It restates their fear of children and leads us to our first look at a possible truth at 30 minutes, when we see child laughter is exponentially more powerful than child scream. Be really great if it didn't do it again, Mike says to emphasise this is not an obvious solution right now. At this point they both want shot of Boo, but Sully is starting to see her as a person, noticeably with his reaction to the picture she draws of them together. He confirms his alignment to the lie by promising he won't scare her because he's off duty. Another hint at the truth comes when Sully ponders Boo might not be dangerous at 34 minutes, although he also reaffirms his need for the lie when he suggests they put her back through her door so everything goes back to normal. As they head back towards Monsters Inc. with Boo in disguise, the stakes for Sully and Mike have been raised further, voiced by Mike as potential banishment to the children's world if they are caught. As Sully looks after Boo in the locker room at 37 minutes, the truth appears again as he shows horror at the idea Boo was flushed down the toilet, and then enjoys playing hide and seek with her. Randall reminds us of the lie at 39 minutes. He has never given us the impression he's any kind of match for Sully, so his threat feels mute. He is only here now to remind us he's the bad guy and to build tension, and we laugh, of course. At 41 minutes, their plan to put Boo back through her door comes unstuck when Sully realises Mike has called the wrong door. They both want the same thing, but Sully will not do it at any cost. Mike just wants shot of her. For now, Mike's frustration results in the movie's best line. Now put that thing back where it came from. Also help me. The midpoint's moment of truth sees Sully take control when he holds onto Boo and closes the door. His action has pushed him further away from his external desire and raised the stakes, but for the right reason. In contrast to 2A, the 2B subtext reflects Sully's gradual move towards the truth. The subtext is to return Boo safely. Bad Guys begins immediately after the midpoint. Boo has gone missing. Mike is overjoyed. She is no longer his problem. Sully goes looking for her. The bad guys close in when Randall discovers Mike was at the restaurant with the child. As is common, the bad guy and the good guy want the same thing, but for different reasons. Randall wants Boo back through her door so he can test a scream extractor. Sully and Mike want her back so they can go back to scaring. To this end, Randall facilitates Boo's return through her door. For Mike, it seems like the perfect solution. We ease into the all is lost moment at 44 minutes when Boo, who is still lost in the building, accidentally evades Sully, leading him to believe she has been crushed by the garbage system. The scene cleverly works death into the all is lost, raising the stakes at least subliminally as Sully watches part of Boo's costume work through the garbage crusher. Despite this nod to death, the story is very careful to remind younger viewers Boo is still alive, intercutting Boo running through corridors and interacting with monster children. At 47 minutes they realise Boo is actually alive, and are reminded again of the truth when one of the monster children bites Mike's hand, and Boo laughs. At 48 minutes we get a repeat of the midpoint scene on the scare floor, but this time the door really is Boo's. For all the attachment Sully has for Boo, he will return her in a heartbeat if the moment is right. At the mention of Randall's involvement, the truth stops Sully from letting Boo go. Mike goes through Boo's door to prove a point and is captured by Randall. The stakes are raised with the introduction of the scream extractor at 52 minutes. The extractor looks like a horrific contraption, but Mike's humour takes the edge off the scene for younger minds. This scene with the extractor foreshadows the story climax in Act 3, when it will be Boo in the seat. At 54 minutes, the darkest hour starts with a false victory. Sully and Mike find Waternoose and think their problems are about to be resolved. The darkest hour comes with Sully's scare demonstration and the terror it induces in Boo. If we've been caught up in the ride, we now know exactly what's at stake, the horror of scaring for children. Boo's terror stabs at the heart of Sully, and it's only going to get worse. We now know the truth of what scaring children for Scream does. The break to 3 at 57 minutes reveals the twist, that Randall is working with Waternoose. The bad guys demonstrate they're fully in control. They now have Boo. Sully and Mike are ejected from the monster world to a snowy wasteland in the human world. The threat of their banishment, foreshadowed since the beginning of Act 2, has now come to pass. Sully is now fully subscribed to the truth, but has to deal with the consequences of the lie. Boo has never been in greater danger, and he has never been further from her. What an amazing setup for a third act. At 58 minutes, both Sully and Mike literally roll through the doorframe into Act 3. Sully defines the truth when he tells Mike of the real terror children experience from being scared. Mike's angry return comes from the lie, from not achieving their story goal of breaking the scare record, of losing his girlfriend in the scare world. The abominable snowman adds to the sense of hopelessness, having been banished for so long, but that's only because he's still subscribed to the lie. He doesn't go near children because they're toxic. Sully has gone through a positive story arc. He has transformed and knows children are not toxic. He will take action using all he has learned through Act 2. This starts with the revelation there is a village nearby which has children and scare doors. As Boo is strapped to the scream extractor, Sully charges through a scare door and back into the monster world at 64 minutes. The work of the story is all but done. The climax is upon us at 65 minutes when Boo is saved from the scream extractor by Sully, who also destroys the machine. Mike's reappearance gives us his new perspective, although he hasn't gone through any transformation. He aligns with Sully because there is nothing else for him to do. At 67 minutes, the climax in Monsters Inc. sidelines adults for the first time. It's still entertaining, but it's a roller coaster ride to have the kids finish the movie on a high. It pulls together everything we know about the character's world and the doors. The roller coaster ends at 72 minutes, when Boo turns the tables and attacks Randall with Sully's life on the line. What an amazing message to have the girl beat up on the very monster assigned to scare her. The sequence ends with Randall banished by our heroes and Boo's door located. There's just one small problem. The climactic moment of 75 minutes brings Sully, Mike and Boo together as a team to defeat Waternoose. Like every other sequence in the movie, it is well executed, funny and engaging. With Waternoose apprehended, Sully finally concludes the want of the lie, now transformed to the truth, by returning Boo safely. The world of the lie is over. That scare record, the story goal, is history. The resolution of Monsters Inc. does two things. At 81 minutes, the dramatic narrative delivers on Randall's winds of change statement at 11 minutes. It is Sully who has learned child laughter is much more powerful than scream and begins building a changed world order. We get a final moment in the resolution that resonates with the very first scene of a monster going through the child's door, except the circumstances are very different. The story ends on a sentimental note. Mike has gone some way to redeeming himself by rebuilding Boo's door, allowing Sully to visit his friend once more. It turns out studying Pixar movies might be a great source for building story knowledge. Because this form of story tends to be less complicated, it is actually a great way to cut your teeth learning story. Monsters Inc. conforms to classic story structure and typically hits the beats on cue. When it doesn't, it's because the story dictates, not because the writers have gone off script. The story world is brilliantly staged with the lie and stakes woven and expanded with each moment. The characters are compelling, unique, and all serve a story purpose. The transformation of Sully from the chief scarer to owner of the truth is gradual and earned. Mike serves as a great contrast through Sully's journey. Brandon and Waternoose are genuinely bound to the lie. What may have started as a well-intentioned search for Scream alternatives took them over a moral line. It's often a fine line. We get it, we're engaged. The final act delivers emotionally on all we've invested the previous hour. Importantly, the story ends on a high. We'll watch it again, and we'll enjoy it for many of the same reasons we did the first time. When our children want engagement with the story outside of the movie, we're more likely to buy something we have engagement to. Engagement is the key no matter what your audience is. If we can bottle some of the Monsters Inc. magic and pour it into our own projects, that can only be a good thing. Thank you for watching this video. I loved making it. I do these breakdowns to build on my knowledge of story as a writer. I hope you were entertained, and I hope you learned something too. If you'd like to discuss this breakdown, I look forward to hearing from you below. If you have a book or movie you'd like me to break down, let me know below too. There are plenty more videos upcoming, starting with Rambo 2. Have fun. Thank you for watching.